This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Peptides and medications discussed are not FDA approved for bodybuilding or longevity use. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting or stopping any medication, peptide, or supplement. Let's talk about one of the biggest frustrations people run into when they start GLP blockers or GLP receptor agonists. They lose weight, the scale goes down, their clothes fit better, and then they realize something feels off. Strength is down. Workouts feel harder. Muscle looks flatter. Recovery is slower. And suddenly the question comes up. Can you actually gain muscle while you're on GLP blockers? The short answer is that it is much harder, but it is not impossible. The longer answer is that you need to understand what these drugs are doing inside your body, why muscle loss is such a common side effect, and which peptides can help offset those effects so you can protect and even rebuild lean tissue, while still benefiting from appetite control and metabolic improvements. GLP blockers and GLP receptor agonists work primarily by reducing appetite, slowing gastric emptying, improving insulin sensitivity, and lowering overall caloric intake. That sounds great for fat loss, but muscle growth requires three non-negotiables: adequate calories, adequate protein, and a strong anabolic signal. GLP drugs interfere with at least two of those, and sometimes all three. When appetite drops dramatically, protein intake almost always drops with it. People feel full faster, eat smaller meals, and often prioritize convenience foods instead of protein-dense meals. On top of that, training intensity often drops because calories are lower, glycogen stores are lower, and recovery capacity is reduced. The body adapts by becoming more efficient, and one of the ways it does that is by reducing metabolically expensive tissue, which includes muscle. There is also a hormonal side to this. Prolonged calorie restriction lowers IGF-1, thyroid output, testosterone in men, and estrogen balance in women. Cortisol tends to rise. All of this pushes the body toward a catabolic state. That does not mean you cannot maintain muscle, but it does mean that building new muscle becomes an uphill battle. So when people say you cannot gain muscle on GLP blockers, what they really mean is that GLP blockers remove the natural environment that makes muscle growth easy. You no longer get hunger cues pushing you to eat enough. You no longer get the same insulin spikes that drive nutrients into muscle. And you no longer have excess energy available for growth. This is where peptides come into the conversation, not as magic shortcuts, but as tools to restore some of the signals that GLP drugs dampen. The first category to understand is growth hormone secretagogues. These peptides help stimulate your body's own growth hormone production rather than replacing it. Growth hormone does not directly build muscle the way anabolic steroids do, but it plays a massive role in recovery, fat metabolism, tissue repair, and preserving lean mass during calorie restriction. Sermorelin is one of the most commonly used peptides in this category. It works by stimulating the pituitary gland to release growth hormone in a more natural pulsatile pattern. On GLP blockers, sermorelin can help improve recovery from workouts, protect muscle tissue, and improve sleep quality, which is critical for muscle maintenance. Better sleep alone can make the difference between losing muscle and holding on to it. Ipamorelin is another peptide often paired with sermorelin. Ipamorelin stimulates growth hormone release without significantly increasing cortisol or prolactin. This matters because cortisol is already elevated in many people on aggressive calorie restriction. When sermorelin and ipamorelin are used together, they can create a stronger growth hormone pulse while remaining relatively gentle on the system. Tesamorelin is a more advanced option. It is particularly known for reducing visceral fat, but it also increases IGF-1 levels more robustly than sermorelin alone. IGF-1 is one of the primary anabolic signals involved in muscle protein synthesis. For people on GLP blockers who are losing weight quickly, tesamorelin can help shift some of that loss away from muscle and toward fat. Next, we need to talk about peptides that directly support muscle preservation and performance rather than hormone signaling. IGF-1 analogs are sometimes discussed in muscle-building circles, but they are not typically recommended for most people due to safety concerns and their powerful effects. Instead, peptides like IGF-1-LR3 or DES are often avoided in favor of safer upstream approaches like growth hormone secretagogues. BPC 157 and TB 500 do not build muscle directly, but they play a critical role in allowing you to train consistently. GLP blockers often come with joint pain, connective tissue stiffness, and slower recovery. When your joints hurt, training quality drops, and muscle growth stops. BPC 157 supports tendon and ligament healing, while TB 500 supports tissue repair and inflammation reduction. Together, they help keep you in the gym and lifting effectively. Another peptide that deserves attention is MOS-C. MOS-C is a mitochondrial peptide that improves metabolic flexibility and insulin sensitivity. On GLP blockers, energy availability is often low. MOS-C helps muscles use available energy more efficiently and may improve endurance and training output even when calories are reduced. It does not directly cause hypertrophy, but it improves the environment in which hypertrophy can occur. AOD 9604 is often misunderstood. It is a fat loss peptide derived from growth hormone, but it does not have the same muscle wasting risk as traditional calorie restriction. While it does not build muscle, it can help reduce fat loss pressure so that overall calorie intake does not need to be pushed as low. That indirectly helps preserve lean mass. For people concerned about strength and performance, PT141 is sometimes overlooked. While best known for libido effects, PT141 also influences motivation, confidence, and central drive. Training intensity is not just physical. It is neurological. When people are under-eating and fatigued, motivation to train hard drops. Improving central drive can indirectly improve training quality. Thymosin alpha-1 and thymulin are immune-modulating peptides, but immune health is closely tied to recovery. Chronic calorie restriction can suppress immune function, leading to more frequent illness and poor recovery. Supporting immune balance helps maintain training consistency, which is essential for muscle retention. Now we need to address the reality. Peptides cannot override physics. You cannot build significant muscle without adequate protein and resistance training. No peptide will fix a diet that is too low in protein or workouts that are too infrequent or too light. If you are on GLP blockers and want to maintain or gain muscle, protein intake must be intentional. You may need to use protein shakes, amino acid supplementation, or smaller, more frequent meals. Leucine-rich protein sources are especially important because leucine is a primary trigger for muscle protein synthesis. Resistance training must also be prioritized. 2 to 4 sessions per week focused on progressive overload is the minimum. Volume may need to be lower, but intensity must stay high. Shorter, harder workouts are often more effective than long sessions when calories are restricted. Sleep is non-negotiable. Growth hormone is primarily released during deep sleep. If sleep quality is poor, peptides will not work optimally. Stress management is also critical because elevated cortisol actively breaks down muscle tissue. So can you gain muscle on GLP blockers? For most people, the realistic goal is muscle preservation first. Slowing or stopping muscle loss is a win during aggressive fat loss. In some cases, particularly in beginners or people returning to training after a break, modest muscle gain is possible with the right peptide support, training, and nutrition. The biggest mistake people make is assuming weight loss equals health. Muscle is a metabolic organ. Losing too much muscle slows metabolism, worsens insulin sensitivity long-term, and increases the risk of weight regain. The goal should never be just a smaller body. It should be a stronger, healthier, more resilient body. GLP blockers are powerful tools, but they must be used intelligently. Peptides can help restore balance, protect lean tissue, and improve recovery, but they work best when combined with proper nutrition, smart training, and realistic expectations. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Peptides and medications discussed are not FDA approved for bodybuilding or longevity use. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting or stopping any medication, peptide, or supplement. Thanks for listening, keep learning, and stay curious.